Alright, today we're going to read chapters 27 through 30 of Serafina and the Splintered Heart, and I thought it might be fun to read outside today. So, chapter 27. When Serafina woke, she found herself lying in the Angel's Glade with Braden and Gideon standing nearby. She quickly got herself up onto her feet to see what was happening. "What do you think you're doing?" a male voice asked in a forceful tone. Serafina looked around the forest. "I wasn't going to hurt anyone," Braden replied. "I swear, nothing happened." "Something always happens with that thing," Wesa said as he stepped out of the forest. His long, dark hair hung down around his shoulders, and his brown skin glistened in the morning light. His chest was bare, and he wore simple trousers. The pattern of his tribe's ancestral tattoos marked his face and arms. "What's wrong with you? Why did you put on the cloak?" "I'm sorry," Braden told him, shaking his head. What was it?" Wesa demanded. "What happened?" "My aunt and uncle were having a party in the rose garden with all the guests." "Oh yes, that's a good reason. Lots of excellent victims to choose from," Wesa said sarcastically. "No," Braden said. "I was sitting on the bench on the library terrace away from everybody else, and then a strange feeling came over me." "What do you mean, a strange feeling?" Wesa said, narrowing his eyes. "I don't know what it was," Braden said. "Terrible sadness and pain. Like I was going through it all over again. Like she was actually there and needed my help. But I couldn't help her. It felt like I could almost reach out and touch her, but I couldn't. I just felt so hopeless. Like all of this was never going to end. I thought maybe if I put on the cloak, I could find her, reach her somehow, and help her. I had to do something." "But not that," Wesa said. "Never put it on. It's too dangerous, especially now." I won't be doing it again, believe me," Braden said. "It was awful. I need to find my own way through all of this." Wesa nodded, seeming to understand. "You frightened me, my friend," he said as he walked toward them. The two boys shook hands warmly, with the ease of familiarity, then embraced briefly and separated. Serafina was happy to see Wesa here, but it surprised her to see them greet each other so warmly. They had first met during the battle against Uriah and Rowena, but they had not been close. It was a peculiar feeling to have her two friends become friends without her. She thought it was interesting how different they looked from each other. Wesa was taller than Braden and much physically stronger, with muscled arms and legs. He was a boy of action, taut and fierce. Braden had lighter hair and a younger, softer face. He was a quiet, polite, smartly dressed boy of the house, with his dog at his side. Wesa turned and looked at her body lying in the grave. She could see from the moody look in his eyes that he wasn't in agreement with what Braden and Gideon had done. "First you put on the cloak, and then you do this?" "I don't understand what comes next, Wesa," Braden said. "What are we waiting for? What's going to happen?" But Wesa didn't reply. "That's all that's left of her," Braden said despondently, pointing at the body in the grave. "You know that isn't true," Wesa said, setting his jaw. "But she's been buried here since the Logia. How can this go on?" "This is just her human body," Wesa said. "As long as the angel protects this part of her, then there's hope." "But hope for what? Where's the rest of her? Where'd she go?" "I'm right here," Serafina said. "I've seen her," Wesa said. "What?" Serafina said, looking at him in surprise. "You've seen me? What are you talking about? You haven't seen me." "Sometimes she lingers here near the grave," Wesa said. "Yes, I'm here. I'm here right now." "Does she recognize you?" Braden asked, keenly interested in what Wesa was saying. "I don't honestly know," Wesa said sadly. She seems so wild. She seems as wild as the forest herself. The last time I saw her, I tried to follow her, but she attacked me." Serafina frowned. They weren't talking about her spirit. They were talking about the panther. Braden shook his head in sadness. "I've seen her from a distance, but she doesn't come to me." "Her Tesoi is split," Wesa said. "I don't understand what that means," Braden said. Her Trinity, has been torn apart," Wesa said, trying to explain it as best he could. "Her Adenovado is gone." "What does that mean?" "It's her heart, her spirit," Wesa said. Braden shook his head as he looked down at her body. "I wish I could have done more for her." "You did all you could do," Wesa told him. "But I didn't save her," Braden said. "We don't know that yet," Wesa said. "There are still many feet traveling many paths." Braden looked up at him. "What do you mean? Is something happening? Have you spoken with Serafina's mother?" "No, it's not that," Wesa said, shaking his head sadly. "Her mother was devastated by what had happened. After Serafina's death, she lost all hope." "But where is she?" Braden asked. Everything in these forests reminded her more and more of Serafina. The trees, the rivers, the rocks, and the sky. Even you and me. It was breaking her heart to stay here. She went west with the cubs to the Smoky Mountains to find more of our kind. I understand, Braden said, nodding. Serafina listened to Wace's story of her mother with fascination. It made her sad to think that her mother was gone, but she was relieved to hear that she and the cubs were all right. Then she thought, Serafina's death. That's what Wace said. That was what they were calling it, her death. Braden looked at Wesa. But you didn't go to the Smoky Mountains with them. No. But why? Wesa lifted his eyes and looked at him, almost angry that he would ask him that question. The same reason you didn't go to the hospital in New York when your aunt and uncle told you to. The doctors might have been able to fix your leg. You're right, Braden said, but what did you mean that there are still many feet traveling many paths? Something is coming this way, Wesa said. I've seen a clawed creature with terrible powers. Dark storms have been ripping through the forest each night. The rivers are swelling, destroying everything in their path, and the black folds are increasing. The people of Biltmore are in grave danger. Is it her? Braden asked, a sudden fierceness in his voice. I don't know. But you've seen her again, haven't you? No, not since the night she left. Serafina didn't know who or what they were talking about. But when Wesa said these words, his voice was edged with emotion, almost as if he felt guilty about what had happened. Not since you helped her, you mean, Braden said, his voice filled with bitterness. I still don't understand why you did it. When I found her in the forest, she was bleeding so badly. She couldn't move or speak. She was going to die, Braden. Yes, I know. You should have finished her off. You don't understand, Wesa said. She wasn't just suffering from the wounds of the battle on the Logia. I know what wounds from dog bites and panther claws look like. Something else had gotten her. I found her curled up under a fallen tree, shaking in misery. Something had beaten her savagely, broken her bones, tore into her flesh, even burned her. I've never seen anything like it. I don't understand, Braden said, fear gathering in his eyes. You mean like some sort of animal? Or a wicked curse? What do you mean something else had gotten her? I don't know what attacked her, but it was the most disturbing thing I have ever seen, Wesa said. But she was our enemy, Wesa. Why didn't you destroy her right when you had the chance? Wesa looked down at the ground. He didn't know how to answer Braden's question. You're right, that may have been a terrible mistake, he admitted. But when I saw her there, lying on the ground, suffering so badly, I just kept remembering the night Uriah killed my sister. I could not save my sister from death, no matter how hard I fought. I did not have the strength and speed and fierceness I needed to protect her. But as I was looking at this helpless, wounded girl on the ground, I realized that I could save this girl. I have been fighting for a long time now, but that is not what I was before. It's not at all what I wish to be. My mother and my grandmother taught me that sometimes you win a battle not by fighting, but by helping and healing. Sometimes there is more than one path to follow. It is not always clear which way to go, but I wanted to follow the right path, at least the best I could. When I saw Rowena laying there like that, something stayed my claws. Do you understand? For a long time, Braden did not look at his friend, could not look at him, for he did not want to forgive him. But finally, he looked up at him and he nodded. All right, tell me what happened next. I picked her up and carried her to a safe and hidden place. I bound up her wounds, and I helped her through the days and nights that followed. I gave her water and food and a place to sleep and heal. Then what happened? On the night of the quarter moon, I came back and she was gone. She just disappeared. Disappeared? She slipped away. I looked for her for several nights, but she had become nothing but mist in the swamp. The creature you spoke of, the storms and the swelling rivers. I don't know if she's causing all that, Wesa said, or if the creature is the thing that attacked her and caused those terrible wounds. Serafina couldn't help scanning the forest around them. Wesa had seen the storm creech, and he knew something was coming. Braden looked down again at her body lying in the grave. But is this how it's all going to end, Wesa? Braden asked, with Serafina in the ground. We stay bold, my friend. That's what we do, Wesa said. We fight. Even if we've already lost the battle, Braden asked in dismay. Especially then, Wesa said. This war isn't over. We stay strong and we stay smart. You still have the cloak, right? I still have it. Keep it well hidden. Keep it safe. The cloak is our only hope, and whatever's coming, we'll fight it together. Braden nodded his agreement. And you keep the panther safe. I'll do my best, Wesa said solemnly. Stay bold. With this, Wesa leapt into the forest, changed form in midair, and bounded away on 4 legs. Braden watched Wesa go. He and Gideon remained at the side of the grave alone. He seemed to be thinking about Wesa's words, trying to understand what he should do next. Then he slowly turned back to the coffin and looked at her body in the grave. "Come back to me," he said to her. "Believe me, I'm trying," she said as a pang of sadness moved through her. Braden replaced the lid on the coffin and slowly, almost reluctantly, pushed the dirt back into the grave and reburied her. When the work was done, he was about to leave. He looked up at the angel. "Take care of her," he told her, and then he turned and headed back toward Biltmore. Serafina wanted to follow him, but she let him go. There was nothing she could do to help him in that direction. She had to join them in their fight against the coming darkness, and she could see only one path to follow. All right, that was chapter 27. I'll finish 28 through 30 in the next video.